Ostrovsky is now joining us live on this. He is a human rights attorney and the CEO of the International Legal Forum. Mr. Ostrovsky, thank you so much for speaking to India today. It is a very tense situation in Israel today. It is an active situation, a state of war, as the Prime Minister of Israel has described it. How do you see the developing situation? Because there's condemnation coming in from world leaders, including the Indian Prime Minister.
Look, I think these are very difficult, very challenging times at the moment. What we've seen today is an unprovoked, unprecedented, and premeditated attack by the Iranian-backed Hamas terrorist group. We've seen, I think, over 5,000 rockets now rain down from Gaza upon civilians in Israel. At least over 20 people are reported to have been killed, murdered by Hamas terrorists who have infiltrated inside Israeli territory. And we're also hearing increasing reports of many Israelis who are either being held hostage or have been taken captive into the Gaza Strip already. To put this in context for you, roughly at least one third of Israel is under fire, under attack at the moment, and in the context, that is roughly 500 million people in India. So really some very jarring figures and scenes that are coming in some very difficult days ahead of us.
Absolutely. We do know that, of course, the establishment in Israel is responding to this attack, this unprovoked and surprise attack, as it has been called. But a lot of questions that are being raised as to how this was a surprise attack. There's so much which is said about the robustness of the intelligence apparatus of Israel. How did Israel not see this coming, sir?
Look, that's a great question. I don't have the answer to that. I don't think we do just yet. The political recriminations and assessments will come in due course, and appropriate lessons will be learned. But I think at this point in time is a time for unity and also a time for the Israeli security services to really respond to the immediate security threat facing the communities, to root out the terrorists who have infiltrated into the south of the country, to take action against the Hamas military targets in Gaza, and of course to bring back those that are being held captive and hostage within the Gaza territory itself. But assessments into how this happened and how to prevent it in the future, that will come in due course.
Right. So from the human rights perspective, you may have seen some of the statements that are coming in from Palestine and certain nations that have supported this attack as well. How do you see the whole picture, sir?
Look, I think the world, including Prime Minister Modi, leaders from across the United States, Europe, the EU, even the United Nations, have all come together to universally condemn Hamas for this abhorrent and unprovoked and indiscriminate mass terror attack, to show solidarity with Israel, and importantly to also underscore that Israel, like India, like any other sovereign nation in the world, has not only the right under international law, but also the duty and the obligation to take action to defend its citizens. So I think the diplomatic response has been universal to condemn Hamas and to show solidarity with Israel at this point in time.
That's right. But it's the details that are emerging in the way, of course, that Hamas infiltrated from the Gaza Strip into the southern part of Israel, that they've terrorized civilians, shot at them. At least 22 persons have been confirmed killed in this attack. There are children, there are just innocent civilians that have been taken captive, as well as you said at the start, taken captive and possibly taken into Gaza as well, calling them prisoners of war, sir. How do you see that situation?
These are not prisoners of war. These are men, women, children, for God's sake, and the elderly. They have kidnapped them from their homes. We've seen videos of the Hamas terrorists who have infiltrated inside the homes of apartment buildings. They have taken Israelis captive. You can hear children crying in the background. The elderly have been shot down, slaughtered in cold blood, executed in the streets. This is the kind of enemy we're dealing with. Hamas is an Iranian-backed, ruthless Islamist, jihadist, terrorist organization. You need to be rooted out as such.
So militarily at the moment, of course, Israel is responding to this unprecedented attack, but at a larger forum, on the World Forum, how do you think, because again, you're a human rights attorney, you represent the International Legal Forum as well as CEO, how do you think Israel and world leaders who have, of course, spoken words of condemnation should be responding to this unprovoked surprise attack which has killed innocent civilians?
I think there are a number of things that ought to be stressed here. One is there needs to be an unequivocal condemnation of Hamas. We need to underscore that Hamas are not just mere fighters or militants, they are terrorists, and there was a very clear reference to that by the British Foreign Secretary James Cleverly only about an hour or so ago. That's critical. We need to reiterate the link, the connection between Hamas and the Islamic Republic of Iran. Hamas is funded, armed, and responsible, directed at the behest of the Islamic Republic of Iran. And I think it's important also to underscore that under international law, not only are the actions of Hamas, every rocket that has been fired, every civilian that has been taken hostage is a war crime under international law, but that furthermore, under the principles of international law and the laws of war, Israel has every right, duty, and obligation to defend its citizens.
Right. Mr. Ostrovsky, thank you so much for speaking to India Today, sir.